Elaine Danforth Harmon. We were civilians working for the Air Corps, and after the war was over, we were invited to join the Air Force Reserves, and I was given the rank of second lieutenant. Well, the first time was when I joined the WASPs, and that was in March of 1944. And of course, I was in the next to last class, so I didn't get as much experience as some other people, but I did learn a lot about the operation. Our training was the same as the men had, and we were completely militarized as far as things we did. The only thing was that the difference was that we could quit if we wanted to. But other than that, we marched here and there and went to ground school and flight training and phys ed and all sorts of things. It was a wonderful opportunity, and it was something that was needed for the war, and essentially everybody wanted to do something to help out with the war effort, and that was one thing I could do, and I tried to do it. Well, one of the most wonderful things about having been a WASP was meeting other WASPs. I mean, they're just an outstanding group of women. I feel closer to them than my high school or college friends. I just am really close to the WASP. And of course, a lot of them are gone now, but those of us that are around, we still get together every once in a while and chat. And actually, during the WASP, we didn't get to know many of the other women, except the women that we trained with. And after that, when we were stationed somewhere or other, we were away from the base so frequently, we really didn't get to meet many of the others. But once I graduated, I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, and we flew BT-13s there, where we took men up that wanted to practice their instrument flying. And I was, of course, the first pilot. I'd take the plane off of the ground and land it, but while we were up in the air, he would go under the hood and just practice his instrument flying, and I would just make sure we didn't run into a mountain or something or get into a spin. I didn't really have to overcome anything as far as prejudice goes, except my mother. She didn't speak to me the whole time I was in the WASP. She was so embarrassed and afraid and so forth that she just didn't want to have anything to do with me. But as far as the men in the military, I had, they were all nice, I thought, and generally speaking, most of them were. Once in a while, stories I've heard of where when you report to a base as a new person there, you have to report to the commanding officer, and one of the WASPs reported in, and the officer said to her, I don't like women in the first place, and they shouldn't be flying airplanes, and as long as you're here, you're not going to get any flight time. Well, Jackie Cochran had to straighten him out, I guess, or somebody straightened him out. But generally speaking, most of the people were okay. I feel like any WASP, even if I don't know her, she's a friend. And so that was, I guess, the nicest thing that came out of it for me. I wish they'd be put in the history books. We're not in any history books. We were forgotten. When we were disbanded before the war was over, December 20th, 1944, it didn't really make much difference to me. We had expected to be militarized, but you had to have a bill go through Congress to be approved. And of course the WASP, the Waves and the WACs and the SPARs and all got their bills through right away. Our bill was so controversial because women shouldn't fly. that was a man's field. Ours didn't come up until about June of, well, it was about D-Day of 1944, and everybody was so busy as far as the Air Corps goes. They were so busy they didn't have time to help us out with lobbying, and we were told, be good little girls and don't contact your congressman and don't do anything about this. So we did what we were told to do, and there was a strong lobby against us. There was the civilian pilot training program that I had mentioned. Some of those instructors were given draft deferments if they would instruct for the military, but by December, not December, but by the spring of 1944, the war was winding down, and we had more pilots. We had trained a lot of them ourselves, but there were so many pilots they didn't need any more, and so these men lost their jobs and they became draft eligible. They didn't need pilots, so they were going to have to be drafted into the ground forces, and they didn't want to do that. So they had a strong lobby against us, along with the fact that there was kind of a nasty journalist who was as well known at that time as Drew Pearson, and well, Drew Pearson was his name, but he was as well known as Tom Brokaw is today, and he lobbied, wrote articles about us in the news and the radio, and things like, he made a lot of, apparently he never did any research on us. He just was against women flying, and he made remarks like, these are million-dollar glamour girls wasting the taxpayers' money. And so we lost, and we were disbanded. They just sent us, they said, go home. We paid our own way for everything. We were civilians, so we paid our own way. And we had no organization, and until about 1970, when they announced, the media announced that the Air Force Academy was going to be open to women, and they'd be the first women to fly military aircraft. Well, some of us got on our high horses when we heard that, and we started trying to locate as many as we could. We managed to locate about 800 of the women. I think we now have something, we don't know for sure, but probably around 250 at this point.